What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Got the microphone on this morning and everything. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the MLB DFS Lineup Card live show. My name's Terry McBride. We are here for the full Sunday game slate. We go through all 10 games, game by game as usual. Just popping my placeholder lineups in. Forgot to do that before I started up the show. Give me half a second here. I'll actually start looking at the camera again momentarily. See who's in the chat. We got Larry's hanging out already. Got Ducking3 is in the chat. Good morning, Ducking. Steven Leibowitz says whose turn was it to wake up Terry. Hey, I got up. It was a struggle to get out of bed this morning. It really was. Took a little bit to jump on the site, get some of the content up there. But we've got the home run picks are up, the power index is up, the stack rankings are up. Went for a show no article today, since yesterday we went with an article no show. Figured it was the only fair way to do it was show no article today. So yeah, missed you guys too, throwbacks. Definitely you lost. Sorry about that, pal. I lost as well. I only threw one lineup in, hand built it on the train on my way down to Asbury Park. Did not succeed with it, but yeah, it was just a toss one in to have one kind of a night for me yesterday. But I know we saw we had a couple people posted some good looking screenshots in the Discord. We had Could Be Travis won himself a couple $100, not too bad. So congrats to those folks, and hopefully we get some winners on this Sunday slate. It's an interesting one. I'll give it that much. There's kind of a relatively deep pitching slate, even without like a lot of name brands on it. I do think there's a lot of usable parts pitching wise, a few really targetable spots for bats. So I think we're looking pretty good here with this slate. And we're gonna kind of dive in, try and get through it in about an hour or so that we've got about an hour to build lineups. Mutiny Barbecue is the shit in Asbury. I've never been, Larry. Asbury's really nice. I was at Steven. I was at the at a show at the Stone Pony. It was Bouncing Souls, the Jersey punk rock band. Somebody got a little aggressive, threw a beer can at my face, so I got a little cut on the old nose there as I was going through. Got him back though, full beer right in his big fat goofy face. But then I was out of beer. It sucked. But I don't know why. Like we were going up to the front. Just it was like this loose show. Nobody was aggressive at all. And then all of a sudden, some asshole just started pushing us. Like pushed the girl that was hanging out with us in the group. Then my buddy Brian, who went ahead of us, and then shoved me. And I turned around and gave him like a huh? And like, why would you shove somebody in this environment? And then his buddy just threw a beer can like right at my face. So I had a cup of beer, and I went like huh, like that, and then just walked away. Also had we were walking to the train station after the show, going across this intersection, red light, with the light, totally like that. My buddy Brian walks out ahead, goes past. I'm talking to him, so I'm looking like that way, not at the car that was stopped at the intersection. All of a sudden, he starts nudging into me, the car. I was like, holy shit, like, what's going on here? So it was here's an interesting little night in Asbury Park. Fun time. Looks like Matthew Tomlinson's here, Obi-Wan's here. What's going on, gang? Bar fight? Nah, not a fight. It was just in the crowd. Had much worse, certainly, fights-wise or anything like that. It was just a little misunderstanding between idiots. Me being one of the two. But, yeah, it was a fun time. Very fun night. Aloysius got in the chat. Who else is here? I think I said hi to everybody. So welcome to the show. Let's dive into this thing. No time like the present. I was, let me get the rest of the lineups done. That's what I was doing right before I kicked off the show here. So let me drop a couple more of these confirmed. We've got most of the lineups for this slate, which is beautiful. That was the Brewers, Chi Sox, Twins. Just bear with me one sec while I get these done, guys. If I minimize that, that will help. There we go. So yeah, fun time. It was the first time I saw the Bouncing Souls in quite a while. They're a band that goes way back, Jersey, New York area punk rock band from way back. Way back being like, you know, not original punk, but like 90s punk. Seen them a million times. And like, you know, it's one of those situations where like we refer to their albums that came out like 25 years ago at this point as like their new stuff. You know, so it was a show where it's just like, you know, oh, what? They're playing all this new stuff. And it's like, well, that album's been around for 20 years, and some of us really, really like it. But to me, it's like, oh, this isn't their best. So it was one of those kind of shows. It was really, really good. They played some of the old stuff, some of the really good stuff, but there was a lot of newer 20-year-old songs in there. All right, let's see. Yeah, the Cubbies are here too. So it looks like we're just missing the Cards, which is great. Oh, I had the Cubbies already. All right. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do that. All right. Oh, shoot. Hang on one other second. The last thing I didn't do was update the stats board, and it's a little bit clunky. It'll just take a sec. I want to be giving you guys the accurate totals for some of these statistics. Kind of important. Come on. Not the time for labs to be acting up. Or grass, rather. This is just a little bit clunky. One day I'll actually bother to automate this so that I don't have to just copy-paste this board. This is just for the for these stats, like the ongoing statistics for talking about it. Nothing here goes into the model, which is why it was done. It was set up to just be done manually, quickly, and then I just kept adding different boards to it. So now I have to do like several different ones just manually, rather than just having it a little one-click. It would take me about 5 minutes to reset this and do it as a one-click. I just haven't gotten to it. Like many things. All right, grab these guys, and we should be good. Pretty sure the pitching ones I updated within. Let me just make sure. $18 starts, yeah, all right. We should be good. All right, let's get into this one. Good place to start. Since I didn't write the article, some of this is going to be me, making these discoveries along the way with you guys. So I think a good place to start is the runs board. And we've got a lot of runs on the board today. Look at all these fives. There are a lot of 5-run totals on the board here. So there's a lot of interesting spots. But like I said, I think it's a pretty decent pitching slate as well. So it's going to be a fun one to go through, fun one to talk about here. With KC and the Yankees off the top, I think this is probably a better source of bats than it is with for pitching. Jordan Lyles, you can take him if you want to. It's not a spot for me. 16.8% strikeout rate this year, 4.61% home run rate allowed going up against the Yanks. They get Jake Bauers back, lefty batting Yankee Stadium. They've got him hitting leadoff. They've got Billy McKinney, another lefty in there. Anthony Rizzo. So a couple good lefties, a couple premium right-handed power bats for the Yanks. I just like the upside for the Yankees going up against this Jordan Lyles spot. It's not like he comes in and blows hitters away. So even if he has a good game, keeps them off the board, it's not a spot where I think we need it for fantasy. 18.6% strikeout rate last year, 19% 2 years ago. So we're not talking about a 1-in-5 pitcher even here. 5.33 xFIP, a 1.26 WHIP. Just not a good starter by any means. I don't think I need to talk anybody off of the Jordan Lyles play here. But the interesting one's Severino. 7,200, 7,000 going up against the Royals, team that we've been targeting for most of the season. They get frisky from time to time when they connect for power. Playing in Yankee Stadium can certainly help that out a little bit. And Severino's been a tragedy for the most part on the mound this year. He was a little bit better in his last start, gives us some reason to hope, but he was a negative FanDuel score the 2 starts before that for each of them. Not a lot of life in Severino right now. Last time out, 6 innings, allowed 1 earned, 6 hits, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. So we're not getting any kind of like strikeout upside, which is the real concern with him right now. The power, it's 90.4 miles an hour of exit velo, a 5.15% home run rate, 11.2% barrels. You could still write a lot of that off to, 48 2/3 innings, 10 starts. It's not a huge sample. But the concerning things are the 17.2% strikeout rate, the 9.4% walks, plenty of runs allowed. But again, that could be, maybe written off. But down to a 9% swing, 23.8% CSW. It's just not been throwing strikes, not been getting his strikeouts. So I'm kind of concerned, but the price is right. The price at 7,200, 7,000 is correct for that. He projects okay. So we're just basically don't think of him as Luis Severino, former really good pitcher. Just think of him as essentially a Jordan Lyles caliber guy just going up against the Royals. We get a little bit more out of him, I think, and there's definitely a bigger ceiling for him, and he comes cheaper than Lyles on the FanDuel slate. So I think yes to Severino, at least in small doses. Maybe not get carried away with it, but at least a few shares of Severino. Definite yes to Yankees bats. If I'm looking at the Yanks, like I named, it's Bowers off the top as the leadoff. Just look to the lefties, and then we're looking at Torres, Stanton, maybe some DJ, but probably not much. Bader's back in the lineup. That's a plus. A little bit of counting stat upside from Bader. No consistency, only a 91 WRC plus, a 280 on base percentage. Does have 7 homers, 9 steals. No Volpe in the lineup, so you get Peraza at the shortstop spot probably. Kyle Higashioka doing the catching, which will be a fixture going forward with Trevino going out for the rest of the season. So it's an okay, not good Yankees lineup. They're very cheap. They're good for value. On the other side, the Royals, you can go to the top end of the Royals. Michael Garcia, Bobby Witt, MJ Melendez, and Sal. Maybe some Michael Massey, lefty in Yankee Stadium. Very cheap going up against a guy who's had a home run problem this year. I think there's good justification for going to some stacks of Royals. Particularly if you go to a bunch of Severino, then you definitely want to hedge it off. Nick Pratto from the bottom as a lefty for 2,900, 2,800, 7 home runs for him on the season, a 145 ISO, strikes out way too much at 36%, but that's kind of the story with all these Royals, so it's not like you would scratch him just because he's a few percent higher than, let's say MJ at 29%. So just a high strikeout, low producing bunch, but definitely upside. Warmish day. It's 86 today. It's supposed to get warmer, I think, so warm-ish day in Yankee Stadium. Plenty of upside for home runs, if nothing else. Trey says, Labs is cooperating today. I see. It blew up all my text yesterday. It was horrible to read. Oh, good. I'm glad I missed that. Severino's been giving up the barrels. Yes, he has. Yeah, weather looked good all around Lone Wolf. I took a quick peek, and I didn't see anything that was overly concerning. Let's see. No, that was the Cubs, all right. I just saw the notification pop up to see what that was. So just to recap this one, it was a light yes to Severino, a no to Jordan Lyles, light yes to some Royal stacks, more if I'm hedging off a Severino position, and then Yanks is like a mid-range option with a good value option type of a rating. Giants, Nationals. The Giants have Scott Alexander on the hill to open this game, lefty. He's going to go about an inning, and then he's going to hand off to Anthony DeSclafani. So I went with DeSclafani just to set this. The Nats, it looks like they're righty. It looks like their lineup that they roll out more against lefties, with Riley Adams in there, with Stone Garrett in there. So some interesting choices from the Nats, but they've been rolling along a little bit, certainly producing in spots. There's no reason to expect that they couldn't get to DeSclafani, even though he's a good major league pitcher, a good veteran pitcher, 4.72 ERA, a 4.03 xFIP, 19.4% strikeouts this year, a 3.54% home run rate with too much exit velo, too many hard hits, and too many barrels. So reason to believe, at least for the Nats, with some of these guys. CJ Abrams has really started to come on lately. He's up to 10 home runs, 19 steals, and 98 WRC plus. That would be a big bump if they could get him going. Still only 3,300, 2,900 at shortstop. Turns out it was maybe a good move to move him up to that leadoff spot. He's really been getting it in gear up there, and kid, it was a premium prospect. One of the big pieces of one of the trades they made. So getting him going is good. Lane Thomas, their best player this year, 290, 337, 488, a 121 WRC plus. Heimer Candelario, the switch hitter, showing a lot of power. 15 home runs on the season, a 222 ISO, only 7.2% barrels, 37.9% hard hits. Has basically leveled off with decent production on both sides, so it's not a spot where I'm gonna worry about the lefty opener against him or anything. Oh, ignore those ownership percentages, by the way. That's from Friday's slate, so it's not relevant. This is where my ownership goes. It still says Awesemo. How about that? Not even stochastic. Awesemo. This used to be my Awesemo ownership. The Awesemo rankings would go here. That was going back a while. Then I've got DK ones over here. DK rankings, that stuff went back a while. This was some kind of stacks board that I made at some point. I don't even know what this did. There's so much stuff in here. If I went to a bunch of different tabs, There's so much stuff in here that it's like, I don't know what the hell that does or what that was supposed to do. Have I ever shown you guys? Like, look how many tabs are on this thing. Kind of a lot. Keeps on going. A lot of tabs. A lot of data in here. All right, let's get back to what we were actually here to talk about. So, yeah, no. Ownership is not being projected right now. So, light yes to some national stacks. Not a spot I really want to get to too much because they're better against lefties than they are against righties. They could get to DeSclafani, but I have a healthy respect for DeSclafani as well. I gave him 5 innings here, so that's where that projection's coming from. So it's actually a playable-ish type projection for DeSclafani. 6,700 on DK, 73 should just be a little bit cheaper in that bulk relief role. So I don't love rolling him out at those prices. If he was in the 5s on DK, you can maybe get away with it as an SP2. But there's not a huge strikeout ceiling. You're booking maybe 5 clean innings type of a play. So I don't love that spot. Mackenzie Gore on the other side. There's some upside here. 27.5% strikeout rate. He's struggled with home runs since his hot start too. 11.6% barrels, 46.3% hard hits, 90.5 miles an hour of exit velo. He's a little bit targetable, but he's good enough that I think with some strikeout upside at price 8,300 to 8,800, there's still some reason to go there. 12.4% swinging strike rate, only a 3.83 xFIP too underneath that 4.59 ERA. So there's talent there for sure. It got, like I said, got out to a hot start this season. Oh, come on. Mackenzie, there he is. Got out to a hot start this season. And then, cool, I want to see is, come on. Let's see. So, xFIP for March and April was 3.43, went up to 3.61 in May, 3.80 in June, and then 5.60 so far in July. First half xFIP 3.77, second half so far 4.64, and strikeouts have gone down every single month. He was at 31.5 in that March and April. May was 28.5, June was 25.6, July's only been 20%, and he's walking 10%. So the strikeouts have come down, the walks have gone up, the xFIP's gone up every single month. But he's fairly cheap. He's affordable. There is a realistic upside for strikeouts against these Giants. 23.8% strikeout rate for this confirmed lineup. You get the good version of the lineup against the lefty with Austin Slater up top, Wilmer Flores with all his power, J.D. Davis from the right side of the plate, Patrick Bailey's been really good, Luis Matos, Mike Yastrzemski, David Villar. Tails off a little bit toward the, going down from like the 5 spot down. So I'm not over the moon about Giant stacks. They're not really pulling huge home run numbers. I think they're playable because they're cheap. I think they're playable because they do tend to hit lefties fairly well. So I can go to some stacks of Giants, but they're not a real priority for me. They just rank out 13th on the board by projection, and then 17th by home run upside. Gore's been originally this season was fairly good with the home runs, but last year 2.27%, but a fairly aggressive barrel rate, a lot of hard hits, elevation. So not fully confident in the lack of home runs here, but it's not projecting through. So I'm gonna ride with the model on that one. By the way, speaking of riding with the model, how about Jake Irvin on Friday night? Holy shit. I didn't have a single share of that 50 whatever he put up in that spot that I was talking about that projected so well and I was not believing in. Ridiculous. Just ridiculous. So yeah, Giants minimally on the board, Nationals minimally on the board. The Nats by projection 18th. So again, not really a priority team, but they do have good value marks. They have a couple okay bats in there, and they've kind of been rolling, and they're not facing tough pitching. So I do think there's good justification for going either one of the stacks. Moderate interest in Mackenzie Gore, just as like a mid-range value play. No real interest in the Giants pitching. Aaron Nola going up against the Guardians. They're answering back with Xavier Curry. Curry went 3 innings in that start the other day. Maybe you get him out to 4 innings today, but not a priority by any means on the mound, especially at 8,900 on DK. I don't really get that price. 5,700 on FanDuel. If you want to do it, it's there, but I don't think you've got the win or the quality start in the bag by any means. 16.5% strikeout rate over 50 and a third, 1 start. Otherwise bullpen innings, so not even racking up strikeouts at like maximum effort in 1 inning out of the pen or anything like that.
just not a premium spot. So I don't really see any need to go to Xavier Curry here. Not against the Phillies, too. Just a good baseball team that I don't really want to tangle with. I can roster some Phillies for sure going up against Xavier Curry, though. Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Nicky Castellanos. Top four is intact. They're easily affordable. None of those guys is overly high priced on FanDuel. Mid fives for Turner and Harper on DK is perfectly fine. So that top four on FanDuel, average salary $3,300. That's great. On DK, $49. That's pretty good. For the hitters that are in that group, that's pretty good. Bryson Stott, JT Realmuto, Alec Bohm, Brandon Marsh. So it's my preferred version of the bottom of the lineup. Jake Cave in there. You take him or leave him as a lefty bat. $2,400, dead minimum $2,000 on the FanDuel slate in the outfield. Cave, 75 plate appearances, a home run this year. Last year, 5 homers and 177. Pair of stolen bases. The year before, 3 homers and 178. A part-time, minimal talent, but a guy who can potentially deliver something for you if Philly stacks get pricey on you. Let's say you've grabbed, 4 of these guys on DK. You've got 2 expensive pitchers. Well, maybe Jake Cave does help you out a little bit at 24 rather than going to Brandon Marsh for 500 more. I greatly prefer Brandon Marsh. We've talked about Stott, Bowman, Marsh a few times. Just the really strong hit tools that they have on display, the power that they've put out, the stolen base upside they've put out this year. So really for me, Philly is a spot where I can go 1 through 8 at worst. 1 through 9 is easy enough. I like all those players. I like the spot for their bats. They rank in the middle of the board for projection, 9th overall for projection, mid-board for value and home run upside as well. Guardian side, going up against Aaron Nola. 32.2 projection. I like the FanDuel price quite a bit more. $9,800 on FanDuel, 11 on the DK slate. It's Aaron Nola, so I'm not going to, I shouldn't have put the questioning inflection on his DK salary. It is Aaron Nola, but it hasn't been the premium version of Aaron Nola really. Not for most of this season. A couple big strikeout games, but a lot of games with just a couple 4, 5, 6 type strikeouts. Only a few double-digit strikeout games. 24.8% overall on the strikeout rate. 4.27 ERA. A 3.81 xFIP for the season. But if we scroll over, last few years have been significantly stronger. 29% strikeouts last year, pushing 30 the year before. 4.63 ERA 2 years ago, 3.25 last year, with a 3.37 xFIP 2 years ago and a 2.77 last year. 3.6% walk rate has jumped up to 5.9. The swinging strikes are down a little bit. The CSW naturally goes down alongside that. He's given up a little bit more power, basically doubled the home run rate, 6 points up on the hard hit rate, point and change up in the barrel rate. So it's not been the premium version of Aaron Nola for most of this season, but there's plenty of upside for him. Guardians are looking to sweep the Phillies in this spot. He's looking to play stopper. Guardians looking to get above 500 for the team that they're, I think they're coming around. We've touched on it a few times. We've looked at some of the numbers and seen some of these numbers increase over the last couple of weeks for the Guardians. So maybe they're coming to life a little bit. I've talked about a number of different times that I like the nature of this team in that they've got a lot of guys that are like mid-range power, mid-range speed types. So it would be great to be able to use them again. So we'll definitely keep an eye on them. I don't know that I want to deploy too many stacks of Guardians, though, just on the idea that they're coming to life with Aaron Nola on the hill. Right? So it's not a great spot. Larry C says, what does that tell you? Believe in your motto. My stupid biases screw me in baseball. Yeah, that's for sure. Like when Irvin was going out doing that last night, I was saying, and I think I am just by virtue of doing all the content shows and everything, like a little bit more of my opinions are trickling in just because I'm talking about it. So like in my process, I think that I'm going to try and make a little bit more of a point to not try and set things, not put my thumb on the scale quite as much as I have been this year. I think I've been hurting myself a little bit because that is a play like I would have definitely culled if I had just left it to its own devices. That would have delivered like 150 Jake Irvin lineups the other night, and I certainly wouldn't want to do that. But I would have probably gotten in like if that was last year, probably would have gotten 10, 15 shares in, something around there, just because of how good it looked, even though I didn't trust it. So yeah, that's a great point, Larry. It does, it does pay to trust the model, even when we can't figure out why it doesn't make sense, or why, even with something that doesn't make sense that we can't figure out. Sometimes it's good to just throw a couple of those darts because that was obviously a premium position at that point. Matthew Tomlinson says, Terry talked me off the Giants. These last two series have not been great. Yeah, they've been, I tell you, every time I've gone to them lately, I've been a little bit disappointed by them. And some of it is like J.D. Davis has kind of cooled. Hasn't really produced much in terms of the home runs. Hasn't really produced runs lately or much power. The lefties, when they face a lefty, you lose a little bit without, two of the premium lefty bats in there with no Conforto, no Jock Peterson. So you lose a lot of their power when they go up against a lefty. But then you've got guys who are good, like moderate home run hitters, like Wilmer Flores types, who are very productive for their careers against the lefty. So they're like a mid-range type of a stack. There is a lot of value in that lineup. Just like, look at all these low prices. Nobody above 3 on FanDuel. Nobody above 4 on DK. Or, excuse me, JD above 4, but only barely on DK. So it's really a value play for me, Matthew, rather than like a focus go to them. They're a really strong play. So the way I would put it is, if you're using them as a tool to get you to premium pitching, to a premium stack like the Braves, something like that, then I think it's perfectly fine. If they're your big 5-man feature stack on DK, 4-man on FanDuel, then maybe you want to rethink it. That's the best I can do, buddy, but I'll definitely have some, just because of the value there. Like when we emphasize certain pitchers' bats, especially on big slates. I try, Lone Wolf. That's why we're all here. And yes, I do have multiple copies of the tabs. Eric B says more tabs equals something is always broken, or that the files have just been around since like 2014 and comes together in ludicrous ways and has had tools bolted into it over time that have required different things. And yeah, there's also just a lot of stats tabs in there too that I just update from time to time. So a lot of stat polls, but yes, there's definitely a lot of those tabs that you guys saw are non-functional. I think there's also some hidden tabs in this that I just got rid of and buried because there were multiple naming convention tabs and tools and everything, and I tried to condense some of that and consolidate down to just this insane version of this thing. So do we want to go to Aaron Nola? I would. Certainly, at the FanDuel price, I think it's very easy to get to, and I think he warrants shares. It's not like the Guardians are an overly threatening team, even in the sense that they are coming around. They're still not a team with major power. They've just got good mid-range power. They've got good mid-range speed. They've got some guys who can get on base. A lot of slap-hitting types in this lineup, though. So really, I'm fine with going to Nola. The price on DK sucks. That $11,000 sucks. If you wanted to skip it, it wouldn't be criminal to skip it, but he's the best name brand on this slate by far. It would not shock me by any means to see Aaron Nola lead this slate today. So I think there's good reason to go to it. Let's see. Phillies bats we talked about. Guardians bats we talked about a little bit. If I do go to the Guardians, it's very much going to be these three guys: Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor, Josh Bell. Andres Jimenez has been coming on a little bit. He's one of those toolsy mid-range power, mid-range speed guys. 8 home runs, 15 stolen bases, up to a 93 WRC plus. Tyler Freeman in the 2 spot, Noah Rosario in this lineup, David Fry, Will Brennan, Cam Gallagher. Not the greatest version of the bottom of the lineup. Stephen Kwan's a usable part from the top of the lineup, but he's been below average for run creation this year. He's like a hit tool, get on base, keep the lineup churning type, but has not been doing it much this year. But if I'm going to stacks of them, I think 1 through 6 is your really usable core guys there. Talked about the Phils. So Aaron Nola, yes. Aaron Nola, Phillies bats, Guardians bats as like a mix-in type of thing, not a priority. Larry says, went to see, FYI, left Cleveland and Nola off the stack tool. Did I really? My bad, buddy. Yep, you're right. There's only 19 teams on there. Well, shit. That's my fault. Nola would rank as one of the better pitchers overall. I think he was 2nd or 3rd. Spoil the end of the show now for Larry. 4th, behind Giolito, Gore, Lusardo. So the Gore one is the one I'm not overly confident in, but like I said when we were talking about that spot, I'm happy to play it at those prices. I think there is a ceiling there. All these guys are basically the same. Bailey Ober's in that mix as well. A lot of guys, though. I mean, this 20 to 37, 27 to 37 tier, there's a lot of same type pitching options on this one. Thanks for pointing that out, though. And was in a bit of a daze as I was putting that together this morning and just transcribing those numbers, so I just skipped over that one. Orioles, Rays, Taj Bradley on the bump for the Rays, the premium rookie, 30.6% strikeouts this year, 3.31 xFIP, a 5.29 ERA. Cheap enough, for sure. We're talking about kid who's been a little bit limited in terms of the innings. 3 1/3, gave up five innings 2 starts ago, 5 innings last start, struck out 9 in that one, walked 2, gave up 2 runs and a home run. Has given up quite a few home runs in a recent stretch here. Not that we are game log hunting and really care about the recent performances, but the innings are important. And I think they're just kind of treating him with kid gloves a little bit, and then he's gotten into some rough spots a little bit that have led to some short starts. 66 1/3 in 14 starts, not a lot of depth there, but the strikeouts are great. So if you get one of those 5 inning starts 5 inning starts with 9 strikeouts like that last one at 7,600 on DK, 8,000 on FanDuel, I think we're okay. It's not one of my favorite spots. I have a healthy respect for this Orioles lineup. I don't need to poke the bear with the Orioles too much, but I do think there's a little bit of upside here. I don't think it's going to be an overly popular spot. 7,600, 8,000 is easy to afford. So yes to Taj Bradley in some shares. Yes to Tyler Wells, same kind of a thing in some shares. 9,500, 8,600. He's cheap enough. For his upside, he projects out basically as the same option as Bradley on the other side. More reliable for depth for sure. 106 2/3 in 18 starts, 25% strikeouts, a 4.43 xFIP, a 3.54 ERA. 0.98 whip is fantastic. 6.2% walk rate is very good. Giving up too much power, too much premium contact. This could be troublesome against the Rays. That's where you run into a problem with Tyler Wells. If he's giving up all this launch angle, all this premium contact to this team that's kind of homer happy, knows how to draw their walks, knows how to get on base, and then hit the big knock, gets a little bit dicey with Tyler Wells here. So I like the spot. I will have some of it because it's cheap, because it's easy enough to get to, but I don't really want to get overweight to it because I'm probably going to look to some of these Rays, have some of their bats. Starting with Yandy Diaz off the top, 316, 401, 497, 157 WRC plus, 13 homers. What a season for Yandy Diaz, a guy who came in as a good player but fairly anonymous this season and just came roaring out of the gate and really has not stopped. He's had his minor slowdowns, but still producing like crazy. Wander Franco, Harold Ramirez, Randy Arozarena, all playable off the top of that lineup for a variety of prices. Getting Harold Ramirez hitting third is pretty nice. 3,400, 2,900. Good little discount there for a good player. 285, 330, 447 over 267 plate appearances this year. 9 home runs, 4 steals, a 119 WRC plus. Harold Ramirez is a perfectly serviceable player for those prices hitting third. Isaac Paredes, Brandon Lau, Jose Siri, tons and tons of power down there in the infield. Siri in the outfield, but Paredes and Brandon Lau in the infield. Just massive home run potential. 18 home runs for Paredes, 10 on the season for Lau, 20 on the season for Jose Siri in 236 plate appearances. That's ridiculous. He's got a 317 ISO. That's bonkers. Good player. Never expected this. Manny Margot, Christian Bethancourt, you work in mix and match type options for cheap prices. On the Orioles side, definitely enthused about Gunnar Henderson off the top as a lefty. 5,000, 3,200. Pretty cheap for all his production. 15 home runs on the season, 122 WRC plus. Just a really good infielder, third base and shortstop eligible on both sites. Adley in the lineup on a Sunday afternoon. Anthony Santander. Ryan O'Hearn with a nice little home run mark. He's got 7 on the season, 308, 354, 503. Just keeps rolling along when he's in the lineup. 175 plate appearances now. It's, again, I don't believe that he's going to sustain this kind of production or that he would be at these numbers if he had made 400 plate appearances like his teammates. But for right now, when he's not been priced up for the production, you can keep on going there. He's just hitting 4th in the middle of this lineup in a good lineup. Austin Hayes, nice season for him. Aaron Hicks has been good since joining the Orioles. Urias, Kowser, Frazier, playable parts. This lineup could easily be played 1 through 9. It's not the greatest matchup going up against Taj Bradley here, but he's given up plenty of power this year. He's put guys on base. The 5.29 ERA is targetable. The 3.31 xFIP is obviously quite a bit better. So a few shares of Orioles bats, few shares of Rays bats, few shares of each pitcher. This is kind of a four corners game from me. Ranking it, Rays bats, Orioles bats, Tyler Wells, Taj Bradley, in that order. Let's keep on rolling. Another spot with an opener. I believe the Diamondbacks are going with a traditional bullpen game after Jose Ruiz here, so I just left him in with the opener tag. This is a game where I think we're just focusing on bats. These are two of the highest projected teams. I think they ranked second and third, or third and fourth on the stacks board, or second and fourth is the accurate answer, with the Dodgers in between. So it's Atlanta at the top again. again. No surprise. Going up against Julio Teheran. Then Cincinnati, Dodgers, Arizona, and then the Texas Rangers going up against Emmett Sheehan. So really, it's Dodgers and Dodgers, Reds. These are all pricey teams. So I think we're going to need some of those value bats from, say, the Yankees, maybe the Twins, maybe the Giants, maybe the Nats is a lower end version of it. But a lot of pricey stacks up toward the top of the board. These teams are definitely priority bats. This was, I believe, the highest total of the day. Yeah, 11 run total in this one. Monster run total. And kind of a pick 'em on the board in Vegas when I put these in earlier. So if we're going to Cincinnati, it's Elly De La Cruz off the top, TJ Friedl, Matt McClain. Remember the other night when I couldn't figure out who was missing from the lineup? It was Matt McClain. It was, I think, Thursday night. I don't know why that just popped into my head, but I just saw him there, and it was like, oh, that's who it was. He delivered our home run pick, I think, the other day, though. Dynamite season for him. 10 home runs on the year, 8 stolen bases, 136 WRC plus to lead this team in 268 plate appearances. He's got eligibility at second and short on both sites. 5,700, 3,900. Totally worth that salary. It's a high salary, but it's totally worthwhile. And then you've got a lot of guys on his team that aren't all that crazy high priced. Like TJ Friedl is very productive for 4,200, 3,300. Spencer Steer, very productive, hitting cleanup today for 45, 34. Multi-position on both sites. First base, outfield on FanDuel. Outfield, third base on DK. McClain, second and short. Elly, third and short. Nick Senzel, third and outfield, is in the lineup. He's 3 positions on the FanDuel slate for only 2,700. Encarnacion Strand, don't forget about him. Team leading 10.24 in the home run model today. 250, 400 to start his career over 20 plate appearances. Already has his first home run. Tons of power. That is a very, very good young bat. Jonathan India is really good. Jake Fraley. No Joey Votto today. Giving the old man the Sunday off, unless he got dinged and I missed it yesterday. Didn't catch a lot of the highlights from yesterday, but saw a little bit. But I really like this Reds team. A lot of good home run producers, a lot of good stolen base producers, run creators. They're just a really fun team, too. It's just fun to put them in your lineups and then put that game on and watch that game. Not that that's how we want to make our decisions, but just a little bonus to sprinkle on top. Diamondback side of things are Alder Perdomo off the top. 384, as long as he's sustaining this, he can hit leadoff, and he is in a good spot for them hitting leadoff. Little bit of power, good stolen base upside, not that expensive. Shortstop and second base on both sites. Creating runs and correlates really well with Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, Christian Walker. By the way, raise your hand if you thought I was going to get that cycle from Ketel Marte after that start that he had to the game the other night. Holy hell. I checked scores. I was like, there's no way he's actually going to do it. He had the triple. He ended up with 2 home runs, I think, right? Crazy day. But I saw his score. I was like, no way. That would have been fun. Never called a cycle before. Called a lot of home runs. Never called a cycle. Lourdes Gurriel, Evan Longoria, Dominic Canzone, Carson Kelly, Alec Thomas. Good lineup, up and down. Playable parts. Canzone was good the other day after we talked about him. 18 plate appearances in the show so far, but I think that 1 home run came the other day after we talked about him on the show. Longoria has been just crushing balls when he makes contact. 13% barrel rate, 57% hard hit rate to easily lead this team in both categories, and he only costs 3,400, 2,700 at third base. 11 homers and 170 plate appearances, a 270 ISO. Longo was at one point one of the top third basemen in all of baseball, a great power hitter, really good bat overall. He's certainly not shot. He doesn't hit for average or anything like that anymore, but in this part-time role, if he puts bat on ball, ball travels. So definitely want to include Longo, but the priority bats are 2 through 5. Marte, Carroll, Walker, Lourdes Gurriel. Dynamite strikeout rates, tons and tons of power out of those guys. everybody in the 200s for ISO, everybody high run creation marks. Diamondbacks have been really good this season. So this one's all bats all the time. I don't see any real need to go to Luke Weaver. 6,300, 6,200. He's cheap. 18.4% strikeout rate on this season. Only walks 6.9%. 5.46% home run rate is super targetable, as is the 11.2% barrels. The 7.22 ERA. The xFIP is 2.5 runs better than the ERA. As I've said numerous times about him, I think he's a little bit more talented than we've seen, but not that much, and I don't expect it to come shining through for him today. So fire away with bats on both sides of this one. Rockies and the Marlins. Ty Black, 4,000, 5,500, 13 and a third, no starts. I believe that Ty Black is also going to be acting as an opener here. I don't know what their plan is. I didn't see a bulk relief arm, but let me double check that. Serving as an opener. Oh, it's Seabold. Okay, so that's super targetable. You know what? I think he was on the probables board too, and I just... Yeah, there he is. Let me go Seabold instead of Black so that we can talk about something more realistic. All right, let's talk Connor Seabold. Super targetable. Got a demotion out of the rotation. Now is acting as a bulk reliever. 5.06% home run rate on the year. A 7.18 ERA. A 5.75 xFIP. Strikes out 16.1%. Walks 7.1. Doesn't really induce swinging strikes. Doesn't really throw many strikes. 10.8% barrels. I definitely think you can grab some Marlins against this guy. It's not a stack that's been great to us all year long. So limited expectations. Limited interest. Mostly in the top end. Maybe like 1 through 5. Luis Arias, certainly. Jorge Soler, absolutely. Arias down to 375, but, still a fantastic average to be down to. Still getting on base at a 424 clip. Creating runs 45% better than average. Just outrageously good. Soler has been stuck at 24 home runs for what seems like a couple of weeks. But major home run upside on any given slate. Obviously crushing the world now that I changed it to Connor Seabold is sitting at almost a 20, almost doubling up the magic number on the home run model. So major power upside there for Mr. Soler. Garrett Cooper, definite power upside up to a dozen home runs. Brian De La Cruz also has a dozen home runs, 8.91 in the home run model. These guys are fairly cheap. These two guys help average down the not high prices of the other two guys. Julie Gurriel, still a decent hit tool, 264, 329, 387, only a 123 ISO, 96 WRC plus, 3 homers, surprising 4 stolen bases from the old man. Love Julie Gurriel, but not a priority bat even within Marlin stacks. But he's my favorite probably out of everybody from 5 down. Gene Segura's been awful. John Birdie hasn't been nearly what he was last year in terms of stolen bases. Led the league with 41 last year, has 11 this year in 268 plate appearances. In a year where stolen base upside shot through the roof. Dane Myers, Nick Fortes, not a lot to love about the bottom of the Marlins lineup. But definitely 1 through 5, you can fire away. And then if you're building 10, 15 of them, you definitely use a few shares of these guys. Rockies side, going up against Jesus Luzardo. Really like the spot for Luzardo. You saw on the board he was one of the top projected pitchers of the day. It's right here. 10,000 on FanDuel, 10.8 on the DK slate. Has mostly been pitching really well this season, except for I feel like in a couple spots where I've gotten to him or been excited about the spot on the show. So maybe we don't talk too much about it. I think one of those times was the last time out against St. Louis. That was because he was super low owned on that slate. That's the one where I got a little bit ahead of the field, or a lot ahead of the field, and he went out and had a clunker against St. Louis. Good team to have a clunker against. 4 innings, faced 20 hitters, gave up 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, but came out after facing 20 hitters in only 4 innings. Every start before that was pretty strong. He had a run, what's that, 6 or so quality starts in a row. Gave up 5 in a 4-inning start prior to that, and then had another run of quality starts. Just been really good this year. And a kid who was a premium prospect coming up a few years ago, bumped into some injury concerns, but overall, a premium arm. 28.3% strikeout rate, 113 and a third in 20 starts, has been giving us reliable depth, realistic shots at that quality start bonus, at the win bonus on the DK slate, with his team definitely favored in this one. So I like the spot here. And you're going up against a Rockies team that, last I looked, their active roster was the worst in the league against left-handed pitching. I'm pulling it up now. Let's see where they sit now, but it's got to be close. Colorado Rockies, bottom of the board, 72 WRC plus this season against lefties. Oakland right ahead of them at 73, and then it jumps up to 85 for the Twins. So the Athletics and the Rockies just super targetable with lefties. Luzardo, one of the premium lefties in the league. You can sign me up for that. I expect some strikeouts. I think the price is right. I think the price is potentially a little bit low on the FanDuel slate. So definitely enthusiastic about Luzardo. If you're going to Rockies, which I wouldn't really recommend, but they'll definitely be a contrarian position, I would look at some of the righty power. It's not great. Randall Grichuk, no Chris Bryant in the lineup. So you've got McMahon, but he gets diminished by the lefty on the hill. You've got Nolan Jones. I haven't looked at Jones's how's his splits against lefties been. Jones is good. I believe in Jones. I think he's a premium rookie. I like the bat quite a bit. I just don't know how he's been against lefties. Let's see. 44 same-handed plate appearances. Not bad. 2 home runs, 268, 318, 439 with a 171 ISO, 91 WRC plus, compared to 280, 368, 530 with a 250 ISO, a 126 WRC plus, and 6 home runs against righties. But has shown some ability. So if you're going to Rockies, I would definitely include Nolan Jones in my stack. I would also include McMahon, despite the lefty on the hill. And then you're dealing with like Elias Diaz, Randall Grichuk. Bottom end is weak with Tolia, Trejo, and Brett Doyle down there. Doyle's been okay for some counting stats, but 53% below average for run creation in 211 plate appearances. And then Profar and Tovar off the top. Ugh, man, it's a bad baseball team. This is why they're not good at creating runs against lefties. Just go to Jesus Luzardo. No need to roster Rockies pitching. Minor shares of Rockies hitting. Definite yes on Jesus Luzardo. And some interest in the top end of the Marlins lineup. And honestly, we can extend that interest a little bit just given the weak pitching that they're going to be facing. Like if you're going to the bottom of the Marlins lineup, this is absolutely one of the better spots of all season to probably do it in, facing Connor Siebold and a parade out of the Rockies' miserable bullpen. 4 games to go. Making not the greatest time if we were shooting for 12:30. It's 12:19, so we'll pick up the pace. Or we'll just keep on rocking and rolling like this and not worry about it too much. White Sox, Lucas Giolito on the bump. Minnesota Twins, Bailey Ober going in this one. I like both of these pitchers. I like them both at price. I like them both in the matchups that they're facing. Obvious strikeout upside for Giolito going up against the Twins with all their power. There's a little bit of home run concern. 4.13% home run rate on 10.1% barrels for Giolito so far this year. On the other side, Ober's got a similar strikeout upside going up against the White Sox. This confirmed version of the White Sox lineup sitting on a 26.2% strikeout rate. That's pretty damn similar to the 26.7 for the Twins on the other side. So I think you can target both lineups with pitching. They both project out well. They're both priced under 10K on both sites, so there's good value there. Not really sure which of these guys. I guess I would just go with with what the model's telling me and the guy that I think is the more talented of the two pitchers and rank Giolito ahead of Ober, but it's pretty close. If you wanted to say that Ober was the better option, I wouldn't really have much of an argument to make back against you. He's allowed fewer home runs, better ERA, better whip, so he's giving up fewer opportunities, similar-ish strikeout rate, lower walk rate. Ober's very good. Plenty of reasons to go to both pitchers. Minor shares of both stacks is kind of like mid-range value stacks. The White Sox ranked 14th, the Twins ranked 10th, but the Twins do have very good value numbers on the board. A lot of cheap prices, definite upside in some of these hitters. Byron Buxton down to the 6th spot in the lineup, cost $5,200, $3,000 though, and is still Byron Buxton, as he proved to us with that 2 home run game the other night. So there's good reason to go to Twins for spots like that. Max Kepler can hit home runs as well as anybody in the league from the left side of the plate. Edward Julian's been really good. Carlos Correa's been really bad but comes very cheap. Alex Kirilloff, good lefty bat. Donovan Solano is productive for cheap prices. $2,400, $2,500. First base, second base, third base across sites. 24% better than average creating runs in 279 plate appearances. More of a hit tool and a power focus guy, but pretty good. Last year was pretty good, over 304, 284, 339, 385. Created runs 2% worse than average, but decent hit tool on display. Maybe a little bit miscast hitting cleanup. Yeah, that seems more like a guy who should be hitting second or third to me, but he's functional there at worst, and the prices are very cheap. Wallner, still at the minimum on both sites. 1 home run, 1 stolen base. Not a premium prospect or anything like that, I don't think, but I'll pull him up. I don't have too much of a... because he's Matt Wallner. Matt Wallner is 25. He was 8th ranked in the 2023 report on their team, so organizationally decent prospect. 11 homers in AAA this year. 21 was the peak in 2020. That was AA last year, so 21 in AA last year with 6 in AAA. It's a pretty decent season. So Wallner's a little better than I was thinking, but getting him dead minimum price from the left side of the plate, that works out. 135 WRC plus so far. Ryan Jeffers, Michael A. Taylor, you can bolt those guys in, mix and match them. Jeffers, reasonably good catcher with some power. Taylor, all those 11 unowned home runs from the bottom of the lineup, but definitely not a good everyday regular. On the White Sox side of things, Benintendi, 103 WRC plus, has pulled himself together. Timmy on the rise a little bit. This was in the 40s the other day, so coming around a little. Stole his 10th base, yet to hit a home run. Very, very cheap for being Tim Anderson at shortstop, though. Lubob, appropriately priced, very, very good. 28 home runs on the season, 292 ISO, 140 WRC plus. Eloy Jimenez, Jake Berger, that's where the team's power comes from with these 3 guys. Jasmani Grandal is a playable catcher, more so on the DK slate where you need the position, but he's functional on FanDuel. For 2,300, you can certainly build him in, particularly on a day with no Andrew Vaughn in the lineup. Excuse me. Easy enough to stick Grandal at the first base spot. Jake Berger, lots of power, 4,000, 2,900, but it's a power-only kind of a thing, and it's an unrealistic to expect him to sustain even this production. Oscar Colas, 2,100, power bat from the prospect perspective. If you're going to Matt Wallner for 2,000, you can go to Oscar Colas in the same situation for 2,100. Zach Remillard, Sebi Zavala round things out. Mix and match type guys. Remillard, triple position eligibility for 26 on FanDuel, 27 on DK for 2 positions, 299, 365, 5% better than average, creating runs in 87 plate appearances. Not a big sample by any means, but a playable part. So enthusiasm about both pitchers, and then moderate, like value-based type interest in either stack. Either one of these teams could get to either one of these pitchers, but I just prefer the pitching side of the equation in this one. Braves with Bryce Elder on the bump, facing their old teammate Julio Teheran. 51 2/3 for Teheran, 16.8% strikeouts, a 4.01 ERA now, a 4.87 xFIP. Remember a couple weeks ago when he looked kind of good and we were saying that ain't going to last? It's already turned around. It's already gotten ugly. Super targetable, showing a ton of power upside to the Braves. Top 6 hitters all over the magic number in the home run model. Eddie Rosario sitting just below it. Orlando Arcia a little bit below, and Harris a little bit further below, but we know those guys can hit home runs. I made Travis d'Arnaud the home run pick of the day just because I wanted to go to a Braves bat and I didn't want to use any of the hyper obvious guys who are going to be crazy, crazy popular. And because d'Arnaud is good, and I always like reminding people of that. The step down from Sean Murphy to Travis d'Arnaud is significant in some sense, but in the power sense, not really. It's significant, but it's not as crazy a drop off as from premium catcher to backup in like any other team in baseball. So d'Arnaud is super duper playable. 4,600, 2,900. He's playable on FanDuel. 18 homers and 426 last year. 7 homers and only 229 plate appearances the year before. I think he was in and out of the lineup that year. And 8 homers and only 155 plate appearances this year. 207 ISO. Squares the ball up well. 11.5% barrels. 41.3% hard hits. Just a good little price offset. Now you're getting yet another player in here who's not at a 6,000 plus price on DK, which is where we've been finding Murphy lately. So it just makes the Braves a little bit more playable too, easier to get to too as well on particularly on the DK slate. They're easier to build with on FanDuel. There's just so much value on FanDuel. You only need 4 of them, and you've got all these guys in the 2s. So FanDuel's making it easy to get to the Braves still. But yeah, 1 through 9 with enthusiasm about the Braves. I don't think I need to sell them to anybody, but Ronnie Acuna's up to 45 stolen bases, 63% better than average to lead the team in run creation. All these guys, premium power bats, premium run creation bats. Austin Riley's up to 22 home runs after just a ridiculous couple of days or week or whatever it's been, but he's righted the ship. It was still very, very good, and it was still hitting home runs, but it was a little bit of a dip for him. Now he's back up to a 221 ISO, 22 homers, and looking a hell of a lot like Austin Riley, and will almost certainly finish the season over 30 now. Ozuna and Rosario have resurrected their careers. I've talked about it before. They're guys who've in the past hit more than 30 home runs each, multiple seasons of maybe not stardom, but like that next tier down. Like if a star is an A plus, they were A minuses or B pluses, somewhere around there. Two very good players. Still come very cheap. 18 homers on the season for Ozuna, 15 for Rosario. Decent run creation marks, very good ISOs. Not the most consistent players in the world in terms of will they definitely get on base? Will they definitely help turn the lineup over? No, but they're definite power bats. Strikeout rates, yes, but definite power bats for cheap. So a lot of enthusiasm about the Braves. Bryce Elder on the mound for the Braves going up against the Brewers. It's a spot I'm interested enough in. 8,000 on DK. The price is right. 8,700 on the FanDuel slate. Not a premium strikeout guy. Typically limits home runs. 2.43% this year, 7.3%, 7.3 degree launch angle, 5.8% barrels. Is one of those guys that's good at cutting launch angle, good at cutting barrels, in his 2 seasons so far. So I believe in that talent. The reason I'm going through it the way that I am, though, is pretty sure he gave up 2 home runs in the last game when we were enthusiastic about using him against somebody. Oh, no, it was 1 home run last game, 2 home runs the game before. That's right. Against the Diamondbacks last game and then against the Rays the game before that. That Rays game was ugly. It's been 2 ugly starts in a row. 3 1/3 against the Rays, gave up 7, 2 home runs, walked 4, struck out 0. Ouch. Ugly start. 2 2/3 against the Diamondbacks last time out, gave up 5, 7 runs, 5 earned. Home run, struck out 4, but walked 1. Only 2 2/3, faced 18 hitters. Not good starts. But I do believe that Elder's a talented kid. Not a premium strikeout option. The Brewers might feed a couple strikeouts to him, but they're not completely inept, not completely lousy for strikeouts. So it's a spot where I like the pitcher enough. I think the price is right. If a few shares trickle in, I'm perfectly fine with it, but not a priority pitcher for me. Brewers bats, I think you can go to. Christian Yelich off the top for sure. William Contreras, Willy Adames, Sal Frelick in the lineup for the dead minimum. Let me pull up Frelick here real quick. I actually thought Sal Frelick was in this model, but I guess not. Sal has pair of home runs and 8 stolen bases and 183 in AAA this year. Last year, 4 homers, 9 steals in AAA, 5 homers, 9 steals in AA, and 2 with 6 in High A. Kind of rocketed through the system to get here. 23 years old. Not a big dude. 5'9", 175. So he's about my height and skinnier. Hit tool and speed kind of a guy. He's a left-handed hitter. For anybody that cares or needs to know that. Not sure why he's not in here. Let me see if he'll... I think he's on the back end. This used to be a gigantic, like, highly populated thing. Like, if you scroll up, there's all, like, sorts of players from years ago and all their different naming conventions and handedness. And then it just became my pool of, like, adding new guys in their handedness over time. He bats lefty and throws righty, but I have to put them both in because I forgot at one point which one of these did which. So I just started putting the hit in because I don't care what hand they throw with. I just started putting what hand they hit with in both spots. Oh, you know what's not finding him? Because he's not on the FanDuel slate. That's why. He doesn't have a salary on FanDuel. They might have added him since I put this in, but probably not. Dead minimum on DK, though. Andrew Monasterio, Victor Caratini. Caratini's a backup catcher who can turn on one from time to time, but no Travis d'Arnaud. 49.5% hard hit rate at 2,800. Perfectly fine to play Caratini if you're going to stacks of Brewers. 5 home runs on the season, 140 plate appearances. One of those, like, surprises you with home runs from time to time, but not dead at the plate. Owen Miller, Bryce Turang, Blake Perkins at the bottom. It's okay. Up and down for the Brewers. It's not a great lineup. They're playable. They're cheap. They're easy enough to get to here against Elder. But I do, like I said, think Elder's a good enough pitcher despite what we saw in those last 2 starts and is typically good at keeping the ball in the yard, which if we're hunting for home runs for fantasy upside, that hurts us a little bit here. So a healthy respect for Elder. Tons of Braves bats. If I have a few Elder shares, it's fine, but he's not a priority. Handful of Brewer stacks maybe for some value. No interest at all in Julio Teheran. 2 to go. 12:32. Not too bad. Made up a little time, I think. Didn't I see that they were shutting down Brendan Donovan? Oh, this lineup drop. It was just in the field, right? I think they're shutting down Brendan Donovan in the field, but he'll still be here to hit if I understood what I read correctly. This Cards lineup is in, so now we've got all the lineups. That's a plus. Donovan, Lars Nootbaar, Nolan Arenado, Tyler O'Neill. So Goldie with the day off. Definite downgrade there for the Cardinals lineup overall. Going up against Jameson Taillon, though, it's a targetable spot. In Wrigley Field, not sure which direction the wind's blowing. Let's see if we can find that real quick. Looks like it's blowing out, but it's an inconsequential wind. No real issues there. Don't really think we want Taillon at 65, 63. He's capable of putting up a good start, but I have enough respect for this Cardinals lineup even without some of their better hitters. One of these days I'm just going to burp directly into the microphone. It's justifiable, I guess, at price at 65 on DK particularly. If you wanted to use a few shots of Taillon as an SP2, kind of with like a low expectation SP2, I think it's fine. It's not good, but it's all right. 6.05 ERA, but a better 4.82 xFIP. Not a good xFIP, but a better than the ERA. Too many home runs this year, 4.18% home runs, 11.2% barrels. Strikes out 20%, only walks 6.9%, but only induces an 8.5% swing, 24.7% CSW. Just hasn't been great this year. So no real need to go to Jameson Taillon shares. Definitely want to take some cards against him, but with the lineup a little bit diminished, I'm probably not going to get over the top about him. Arenado's definitely playable. You can one-off him. You can do whatever you want with Nolan Arenado in basically any matchup. One of the better hitting third basemen in baseball. Tyler O'Neill's back in the lineup. He's cheap for his power and a little bit of stolen base upside, but he's been kind of lousy over the last season and a half or so. Had a good run through like August or so of last year to pull his season together, but was not great through most of last year. Has been out of the lineup for most of this year. 2 home runs, 2 steals, and 113. Just rejoined the team after a 2-month stint on the IL. Ivan Herrera, good catcher prospect, filling in for Contreras today. So that's another bat out of the lineup that's one of their productive regulars. But Herrera was raking in the minors. Premium prospect, big-time potential, big-time hitter at the catcher position, 2,800. You could do worse than putting Herrera in that spot. 2,300 on FanDuel. I think if you're going to cards, he's playable, especially without Goldie at first base today. Totally playable option to use in that spot. Carlson, Motter, DeYoung, mix and match type guys through the lineup here for the Cards. So definitely a diminished Cardinals lineup, not a priority for me. Cubbies going up against Jordan Montgomery. I like Montgomery quite a bit. 8,700, 9,100, 22.1% strikeout rate, 3.14 ERA, 3.83 xFIP. Doesn't really allow too much in terms of home runs or premium power. And fairly reliable guy for innings. Chase the quality start, chase the win bonus. I like the spot for Montgomery. Projects out pretty well. Up among, remember, it was a 27 to 37, kind of a big, broad plateau there. So he's right in the heart of that group at a fairly cheap price. So I think there's upside for Montgomery here. Not worried about the conditions in Wrigley today, which is always something you want to check. I think you can grab some Cubbies bats against him. There's plenty of right-handed hitting power, plenty of on-base skills, a lot of good on-base percentages, decent walk rates for several of these guys, decent walk rates for several of their key hitters, low strikeout rate for Cody Bellinger. This was the key for him. Cutting from 27.3 last year to 16.6 this year. Just put bat on ball more often. When you're Cody Bellinger and you can put bat on ball more often, the good things are probably going to happen. And they have. He's been back in 283 plate appearances. 319, 371, 539, 220 ISO, creating runs. Team leading 43% better than average. 13 homers, 12 steals. Dynamite season for Cody Bellinger. Dansby back in the lineup. That's a good bump for the Cubbies lineup here. 4,300, 2,900. Not the greatest season in the world in terms of what he's done over the course of time, but 10 home runs in 372 plate appearances, 10% better than average creating runs, knows how to get on base, good spot in the lineup for a cheap price at a premium position. Suzuki and Happ, both good table setters ahead of these guys, ahead of these power hitters. So I like including one or the other or both in my stacks. They're both very cheap. They haven't hit for a ton of individual power, 8 home runs apiece. Don't hit for a ton of average, but they get on base. Like, I don't care about Happ's 246 batting average when he gets on at a 373 clip. I just don't care. So that's what these guys do well. Horner can steal you a base. Not really a power bat, but a decent leadoff guy. John Gomes, Trey Mancini, good right-handed power late in the lineup. Miguel Amaya, Patrick Wisdom as well. Wisdom, major power bat, 17 home runs in 239 plate appearances. Bottom of the lineup, so it's difficult. He doesn't really wrap around well, but he's very cheap for his power upside. So definitely some shares of Patrick Wisdom along with those guys. But yeah, we're focused on some of the right-handed power, but I like Jordan Montgomery better than I like the spot for the Cubs. So I'm going to call this one Jordan Montgomery, Cards bats. Jordan Montgomery, Cards bats, Cubs bats, but both stacks kind of just as, mid-level priorities, lower mid-level priorities, I think. And then no real interest in Jamison Tyone, but I get it for the value price. Last game of the slate. This is going to be a sprint slate too, by the way. This is everything starts within an hour, so 1:35 to 2:35 start times. So that's a lot of fun. I always enjoy these sprints. Dodgers against the Rangers. Emmett Sheehan going for the Dodgers. Martin Perez going for the Rangers. I think these are two targetable pitchers with bats. We just want to throw Texas bats at Emmett Sheehan. Serviceable rookie, but hasn't been good so far. I think he will be a decent rotation piece. Not like a premium prospect by any means, but a decent rotation piece. 17.1% strikeouts right now, though. 10.5% walks, a 4.91 ERA, a 5.56 xFIP, giving up a decent amount of home run upside. So definite reason to go to one of the league leading offenses against him. They're going to be without Corey Seager today. Got banged up in yesterday's game. Travis Jankowski hitting second, but still a very good lineup. No Adolis Garcia yet today either, actually. Downgrade to the Texas lineup now that I noticed that. Two of their best players out of the lineup. So, bit of a downgrade, but that doesn't lead me to Emmett Sheehan shares by any means, I don't think. Just not pitching well enough right now to justify it. On the other side, Martin Perez, 14.6% strikeout rate, 4% home run rate, 5.13 xFIP. You guys know what to do. It's the Dodgers. It's Martin Perez. I think we can just fire away with Dodgers shares. So Mookie, Freddie, JD, Chris Taylor, Max Muncy, all those guys perfectly playable against lefties. Some of those guys excel against lefties, like Chris Taylor, hits for a ton of power in this side of splits, 12 home runs on the season, 2 positions on DK for 31, 3 positions for 28 on FanDuel. Outman and Muncy against this lefty, I don't really worry about any lefty-lefty. There's plenty of power available in those two bats. Rojas, Johnny DeLuca, Austin Barnes off the bottom, kind of mix and match type guys. Not great at the bottom of the lineup here, but definitely like 1 through 6, I think we're playing Dodgers. 1 through 6 for the Dodgers. On the Rangers side, it's like Semien, Lowe, Young, Heim, Duran, probably. Brad Miller's an interesting option in the bottom of the Texas lineup. I didn't notice him there before. 2,100, 2,000. Don't love him at first base on FanDuel. I like that he's second base shortstop on the DK slate. That's got a lot more value for a player like him. But a guy who's been a relatively decent player, let's say, over time. Never a major producer, but 20 home runs in 377 2 years ago. Something to look at. Very, very cheap. Lefty bat. Capable. I'm not saying no to him on FanDuel at first base, but I would probably go to Nathaniel Lowe quite a bit more, and then I would probably prefer several of these guys in that util spot if I'm building out full stacks. So I don't know how many times I go to Brad Miller, but it wouldn't be 0. It would definitely be involved if I'm building a handful of Ranger stacks. Nothing else jumps out at me about this one. No real interest in either pitcher. And then let's just go to the board. We had both of these teams high ranked. Dodgers were 3rd. Texas was 5th. Kind of a pick 'em between the two stacks, whichever way you want to go. I would probably lean Dodgers, given that 2 of Texas's best bats, or their 2 best bats, are out of the lineup now. Just more talent on the Dodgers side now. So I'd probably lean Dodgers, downgrade the Rangers a little bit in terms of where they're ranked on the stacks board, but not that much, because there was a downgrade to the Cards, who were 6th. The Yanks ranked 7th, and they're not good. The Orioles, the Phillies. So I don't know how far down I would slide the Rangers, given that there's still plenty of power, plenty of upside here. All right, let's talk real quick about the pitchers, then we got to get out of here and build some lineups. So as we said, very deep pitching board. I like the spot for Lucas Giolito. I like the spot for Bailey Ober on the other side. They project fairly similarly. Any of these guys is perfectly good. Start to get some warts around like Tyler Wells going up against the Rays. There's some problems there, but he projects well and he's cheap. Montgomery I like quite a bit going up against the Cubbies in this spot for a fair price. Taj Bradley, kind of a similar bucket to Tyler Wells. I don't fully trust it. 8,000, 7,600 though. The price is right. Tough matchup for him going up against the Orioles. Elder I believe in, but I don't know if I need Elder at these prices when I've got all these other options. But I believe in the pitcher. The matchup is fine. He's just not a high strikeout guy. So at a low strikeout rate, like I don't need to go out of my way for Bryce Elder shares, I don't think, on this one. Severino, some value darts. He's very, very cheap. There is upside there. If he gets 6 innings, he's probably pitching okay. Disclafani as a bulk reliever, not really. Siebold, no. Sheehan, no. Nobody really from here down interests me at all. So it's a pretty stark line today. Everybody from Severino up is a yes. Everybody else is a no. If you needed one of those cheapo prices, boy, it might be Tyon. That is not good. It might be if you're going to a sub 65 or below type pitcher on DK, it might have to be Tyon, and it's not pretty. But at least it's a diminished version of the Cards lineup. Not making that recommendation, though. I would try and figure out ways to pay for like a Severino there. Figure out ways to pay for these guys. It's a pitching-oriented slate a little bit. There's a lot of like peak hitting, but some of the lineups got diminished Sunday afternoon slate. I think this is a one where we're gonna have to nail these pitchers, and we're gonna kind of want to diversify through this pool of pitchers, and then just get to some of the premium stacks. Kind of how I'm seeing this one. Obi-Wan says, thanks. Good luck, fellas. I say the same thing. Thank you, buddy. Good luck to you. Good luck to everybody out there. Trey says, kind of like Sheehan if going darts with no Seager Garcia. Yeah, I don't see an issue with that. Just hasn't really done it for us yet. But certainly if there's no reason to say that Sheehan doesn't have an equal shot to what Tyon has. So that's not terrible, but he's 76, 74. So it's still above that 6,500 threshold. Shannon's in the chat. Good luck, Shannon. Good luck, Benny. Good luck, Trey. Lone Wolf, good luck to you, buddy. Larry C., Todd Strong, everybody who's been out there hanging out with me for the last hour plus. Really appreciate all you guys. Hit the like button if you haven't. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't, so you'll know when we go live. I'm going to punch out now and build some lineups, but somebody go win something today. I'll see you later, gang. We'll be on tomorrow. Definite, probably usual routine, full article, full show tomorrow, unless the meteor strikes the house or something. I'll see you tomorrow, gang. Good luck.